Welcome to the Reddit Chronicles. Today we will be reading from relationship advice. Our first post is by Throwaway. My boyfriend M29 kicked me F31 out of his house because he didn't invite me to sleep over. My boyfriend 29 lives in his mom's house 62 with the excuse she is sick and he needs to take care of her and pay all the bills. I 31 own my house and have 5 dogs. Boyfriend and me have been together for 3 years and our routine is pretty simple. He gets home from work, I go over, we shower together, have dinner, watch movies, nap together, and then I come back home. Nothing out of the ordinary. He have asked me multiple times to leave my dogs alone and spend the night with him, and I've done it a couple times before, but I usually don't feel comfortable leaving the dogs alone all night and all day when I'm at work. Last night I was planning to spend the night at his house since my dogs were at my ex's, so I didn't have to worry about leaving them alone, and both boyfriend and myself were off the next day. Long story short, I went over, we had dinner, we watched a soccer game, and when it ended I asked him for a toothbrush so I could brush my teeth and go to bed, but right here is when he went all crazy on me. He started laughing and saying I couldn't spend the night, that I needed to go home, that he didn't invite me over to spend the night and he had only invited me to watch the game and that was it. That maybe it was a mistake he even invited me to watch that soccer game. I was shocked. I couldn't believe whatever he was saying at this point. I asked him as he was joking cause that was not funny at all, but he was death serious. He said I need an invitation to go over his house and if I don't have one, I shouldn't just show up. We were arguing for a couple minutes about the situation, and apparently I'm the wrong one because in his own words, I don't belong there, and I can't understand it. So I broke up with him, told him I was done with his shit, how stupid and selfish he was, and blocked him out my life. I'm very upset about all this still. He never comes over to my house for any reason, and I don't feel like I need an invitation to go over. Or at least he doesn't need one to come to my house and spend the night or do whatever he wants here. But he doesn't like coming over because what he says, it reminds him of my ex. Do I really need an invitation to even show up at his house? Our next post is by Pleasant Somewhere. My 29M boyfriend takes advantage of being a golden retriever, and I, 28F, am fed up. I, 28F, have been with my boyfriend for 6 years. We've been living together for the past 2. He's a giant, dorky, handsome gamer with a naive, childlike heart. Recently, he went on a work trip with a new colleague, 29F, and came back on cloud 9 shortly after. I noticed he was hiding his phone. I asked if he noticed he was doing so. He said, "Oh no." A few days later, I explicitly asked if he was texting his colleague. He said, "Yes, and I lied before when you asked because I didn't want you to get the wrong idea." We had been going through some other relationship issues related to his avoidant attachment, so I believed him, but asked if he could slow down building this new relationship as we worked to fix ours. He agreed. He's a golden retriever. He just wanted everyone to be happy. 2 days later, I felt what can only be explained as women's intuition, or maybe it was a bad falafel. I asked to see his phone, which I've never done. Sure enough, hundreds of photos were shared with the colleague over the last few weeks, and messages shared with her while I was left on read. I asked to see Instagram, and he added and demeaned her. Mere hours after I had asked him to slow things down, I thought the messages were flirtatious, talking about showers, how it's dangerous to go against HR and add her on Insta. But he assured me that he was not capable of that. Again, he's just a cuddly dog. A week later, he told me that he told his colleague that I was uncomfortable with their relationship. I wish he hadn't aired our problems out to her, or blamed me. Then he asked me if he could start texting her out of work hours again. He feels bad that he made things awkward. All throughout this, he still neglected our underlying relationship problems, and instead prioritized her and her needs. When I call him out, it's my fault for assuming such a lovable guy could be capable of such calculated betrayal. He's close friends with 2 of his exes, so I don't have a problem with him having female friends, but this is different. Am I overreacting or just stupid? Our next post is by Spare Poet. My 22F boyfriend, 22M, physically blocked me from leaving the bathroom, and I don't think he understands how triggering it was. This morning my partner and I got into an argument and I stormed off. I was really upset, so I went into the bathroom and locked the door so he couldn't follow me. My boyfriend said he needed to use the bathroom, so I begrudgingly unlocked it to let him in, and then he started talking again about the argument and continuing to share his perspective. I obviously felt tricked, as I would not have let him in if I knew he was going to continue the conversation. I then tried to leave, as I didn't want to have the conversation in that moment because I was too upset. He blocked the doorway with his body and would not let me leave the bathroom. I immediately started to panic. I was abused in the bathroom by my father on multiple occasions as a child, and being stuck in the bathroom not able to leave is very triggering for me. This happened once before several years ago, where my boyfriend tried to get me to stay in the bathroom by grabbing my arm. He apologized when I explained how triggering it was for me. Anyway, I started to panic and was yelling at him to let me out. He ignored my requests and was asking me to calm down, take deep breaths. I was forcefully trying to move him so I could leave, but he wouldn't budge. In my yelling panic, I told him I was feeling very triggered and wanted to leave. But he still wouldn't let me. He said he was going to record my behavior so I could watch it back. I told him if he didn't let me leave the bathroom, I was going to call the police. He smirked, rolled his eyes when I said this. It was admittedly very dramatic, as he truly never makes me feel unsafe and is generally respectful of my boundaries. But I felt like I was about to pass out and was very overwhelmed. After about 5 minutes and my constant panic and yelling to let me out, he let me out. Can I please get a reality check here? I know I was in the wrong for storming off and yelling, but it also makes me feel a bit sick that he couldn't find it in him to let me out when I said I was triggered and felt unsafe, or try to give me a hug and comfort me when I was very clearly struggling. Our next post is by Throwaway. Boyfriend 28M went above and beyond to protect his former school friend, 28F, from a neighborhood dog but didn't do the same for me, 25F. This has made me so resentful. A month ago I was walking my puppy and was attacked by my neighbor's scary German Shepherd who was roaming freely with his owner nowhere to be found. I grabbed my puppy and ran back home, and the German kept tailing me and jumping, trying to grab my puppy. Finally I reached my home. At that point I was crying, and the dog was still waiting outside. I called my boyfriend who came and scared him off with a stick. I then asked my boyfriend to speak with my neighbor, seeing as he personally knew him since he did business with him a while back, whereas I never spoke to him in my life. He said he didn't feel comfortable talking to my neighbor, and basically said that it wasn't our business and just to be careful in the future. That's when I suggested that I speak to him myself, but he kept insisting that it's not a huge issue, so I put it to rest. Fast forward to a few days ago, my boyfriend informed me that the same rogue German Shepherd was again roaming free and started growling and barking at his former school friend, 28F, who was walking to church. My boyfriend had witnessed what happened and scared off the dog. He then had a heated argument with my neighbor about his dog always being off the lead. I asked him why he didn't speak to my neighbor when the dog had attacked me and my puppy, and he said he thought it was a one-off thing. The thing is, I had told him that this wasn't the first time the dog was off the lead. He called me crazy and insecure for being upset about this. I can't help but resent him after he went above and beyond for his former school friend, but not for me. How do I make him see how hurtful it is that he wouldn't do it for me but would do it for another woman? Thank you for listening to the Reddit Chronicles. Follow for more content.